Hey everyone, I'm Joe and today I'm doing the Try a Chapter tag. This tag was created by Malia over on Book Paradise and I was tagged by one of my favourite BookTube people, Rachel, always known as Kalanadi on BookTube. I will link both of their channels in the description box below, of course. There are 3 very simple rules to this tag. The first is to choose 5 or more books. The second is to read the first chapter of those books and the prologue, if the book has one, or any other sort of introductory type section. And the third is then to report back on camera and say what you think of them, your initial reaction, and whether you are going to continue reading them in the very near or immediately. The idea of the tag is actually very simple. It's basically to give you motivation to read those books that you keep putting off over a long time. Basically, when you say, oh, I'll read that next month, and then you fail to read it, and then you say it again, and you fail repeatedly. I've done this many times, and there are quite a lot of books that I've permanently keep saying this about. So this tag should actually help get rid of a handful of those books. Now I've chosen 6 books for this. The first of which is the Quantum Fief by Hannu Rajaniemi. I used to know how to pronounce his name correctly, but I've currently forgotten, so that may well be wrong. This is a hard science fiction book. It is the first book in a trilogy. The trilogy is called the Jean La Flambert trilogy, I believe. Jean La Flambert is the main character of the trilogy. He is a thief, and that's about all I know. Several people whom I trust on BookTube really like this, and I've rated it really quite highly, as many other people on Goodreads and such. So I've been very curious to get to this, and for some reason I just keep putting it off, even though I'm fairly confident I will like it. The second book that I'm going to try is the Gunslinger by Stephen King. This is book 1 of 7 in the Dark Tower series. The Dark Tower series is very well known on BookTube, and it's actually one of those books where people have either read it or would like to read it and never get round to. I'm one of those people that obviously never get round to it, but that's going to change today because it just sounds really interesting. It is fantasy with a western feel, and it is a sort of roving adventure across the land, I think, with a gunslinger and a man in black, and that's basically all I know. The next 4 books are all presents from my big sister. For the last 15 years, she's bought me a book every birthday and Christmas, and many of those books I haven't read. I don't know why, I just haven't got round to it, as is often the case. And I'm going to use this tag as inspiration to actually read some of them, because I do feel a bit guilty that I haven't read so many of the books that she's bought me as presents. First of those books is Foreign Influence by Brad Ford. This is a political action thriller. My sister knows that I do like a sort of political action thriller from time to time. I don't really know too much about this. The main character is called Scott Harveth. I believe it is the start of a series, from what I know. I could be mistaken about that. And I expect this to be pretty decent, actually. I mean, I don't really know much else to say about it because I really had no idea what this was when I first saw it. The next book has one of the weirdest titles out of any book on my shelf, and that is The Hollow Chocolate Bunnies of the Apocalypse by Robert Rankin. Now, the title sounds mad, and I expect that the book is going to be pretty mad. It is fantasy with what I expect to be dark humour running throughout it. The plot sounds really weird. It is all about a character called Jack who goes to Toy Town to find his fortune, but the serial killer and all the old nursery rhyme characters are getting murdered, and there's another character called Bill Winky and also one called Eddie Bear, and just sounds really weird, frankly, and really fun. So I'm actually really eager to get into this. The penultimate book is Tyrannosaur Canyon by Douglas Preston. This is a thriller. The cover makes me think of Jurassic Park, unsurprisingly, and I really know very little about it. I know that it is about some sort of mysterious object and it triggers some sort of big events, and it sounds peculiar, frankly. Things are falling from the sky from outer space, something. I'm not really sure. But it sounds a bit different. So I'll try it and hopefully it will turn out fairly well. The last book is Bad Moon Rising by Jennifer Mabry. All I know about this is that it is horror. I mean, you can really guess that by the cover. And it is set in somewhere called Pine Deep. I believe there are other books set within this same town. And it's kind of a Halloween type book where there's all spooky things going on and murders and sort of crime and things, and it sounds pretty good to me actually. I have read a few Jennifer Mabry books a long time ago and I did enjoy them, so this shows good promise to me. So I'll report back in a few hours once I've read these 6 books and see what I think. They show a fair bit of promise, so I'm quite hopeful actually. It's an hour and a half later and I've read all 6 of the initial chapters, and overall I'm quite impressed. It shows a fair bit of promise and several of them I will be reading pretty much immediately. And without further ado, I'll start talking about what I actually think. So, the Quantum Fief. You meet Jean Laflambe in the first chapter. He starts off in a prison, and he is indeed a thief, as I knew he was. And the prison is really, really weird. In the first chapter, one of the problems that he is encountering is that he's getting repeatedly shot in the head and apparently killed, which, you know, something that nobody particularly wants. And by the sound of it, it is getting slightly more weird by the end of the chapter. I'm not going to say in what way because of spoilers, but let's just say this book is going to be quite weird, but very, very interesting in respect. The writing style is certainly a little bit different as well from what I usually read, but again, that's not a problem because it will make the book very interesting, and this is one that I'm definitely going to start reading already, and in fact by the time this video is uploaded I may have already read this book, but I'll let you know at the end of the month in my wrap up video. So the next book that I tried was The Gunslinger by Stephen King. This was brilliant just by the first chapter. I'm definitely going to be reading this in the near future. I'm not going to be reading it this month because I'm already reading a few other things, but I will definitely be reading this book and indeed the whole 7 books in the Dark Tower series in June because this really did impress me. It starts off with the rather well-known line, "The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed." I've heard this line years ago, knew it was related to the series, but had no idea what it was related to. Now I have a vague idea what it's related to because I now know that the gunslinger is the main sort of good character and the man in black is the sort of bad or evil character. It does indeed have an interesting western feel to it, whilst also having a weird sort of fantasy vibe about it as well. Obviously the first chapter feels more western than fantasy so far, and it does make me very curious and eager to continue with it, and indeed I will be. Next up was Foreign Influence. This shows a good bit of promise as well. It starts off with a Black Ops team attacking some sort of military type compound in a Middle Eastern country. They kill lots of people and may or may not steal something. You are not entirely told whether they do. There are things there that sound important, but it's sort of unknown what happens yet. Obviously until presumably good midway through the book. The other half of the chapter is about a character called the Troll, who is a dwarf, and he's in some fairly significant trouble. I'm not going to say in what way because of course it might be a spoiler. He is a very curious character and I'm quite eager to see whether he becomes a significant character within the book. I know the main character is called Scott Harveth, but I haven't encountered him yet because presumably he's in the 2nd or 3rd chapters as fillers often like that actually. Fourth book was The Hollow Chocolate Bunny The Apocalypse. Yeah, this is as weird and as darkly humorous as I suspected it was. It starts off with Jack heading off to the big city. He comes across a farm and a farmer who he asks for directions. The farmer, who is simply called Big Fat Farmer, isn't the most helpful person ever, and there is a interesting conversation and sort of interaction between these two, and that is the entire first chapter. It's really unexpected and really weird in a very dark manner, but it's really, really funny as well, and I'm very eager to be reading this. Actually, I may well have already read this by the time this video is uploaded as well, because it just sounds mad and funny with some really interesting ideas in it. So the penultimate book was Tyrannosaur Canyon. The prologue for this was about the Apollo 17 moon landing, which was the last moon landing, and it is on about a missing sample that they brought back. Then it switches to some time later in the future, and there is a man simply known as Weatherly. He is in a desert environment. He has a notebook with some very important information in it, whether it's his information or information that he's been given to him by somebody else, you yet don't know. And he thinks he's being followed by somebody as well, and he doesn't know whether they're dangerous or not. And it does sound quite interesting so far. I mean, there's very little information about what the overall plot is, of course, because it really doesn't give anything away yet, but it does show a reasonable amount of promise. And finally, there was Bad Moon Rising. This starts off with a series of newspaper clippings and articles telling you about a series of crimes committed by a sort of gangland or mafia type family. Some of these criminals end up in this small town, the point deep of the book, and there are some very brutal murders and crimes happened, and this leads into the first chapter where you meet several characters and you learn that there are some very peculiar happenings going on. Some of them sound sort of almost supernatural, but I'm not entirely sure. One minor problem with reading this book in the future, and indeed carrying on with the book, is the fact that it does say at the start of the book that this is actually the third book in this series, in this world, although it does say you can read this book independently without reading the previous two. So I'm going to have to do some research on that, and if it indeed does appear as though you don't need to read the first two, then I will quite happily read this in the next few weeks, or at least the next month. So that's it for the books of this video. If you've read any of them, or you would like to read any of them, then let me know. Make sure you don't say any spoilers, because I've only read the first chapter, please. Thank you again for Rachel for tagging me in this video, because this was extremely useful, and it's exactly what I was looking for, frankly, to get some of these books actually read finally, because I keep putting them off forever, and it's getting a bit annoying in some cases. And with that said, that is it for this video, so thank you for watching, and I'll see you another day. Bye for now.